Welcome to Platform F. I'm with a very special guest today.
Our current reigning international Mr. Leather
2025, Rene.
Hi.
Hello. We are in Sydney,
Mhm.
and thank you for visiting us in Australia.
My absolute pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
How did you find Australia?
Humid. No, the community here has been incredibly welcoming. I've had no shortage of smiling faces greeting me with sincere hospitality.
People are lovely here.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you are here. And next time you have to come to Melbourne.
That is the plan. It may take me another 40 years to get back to Australia. We'll see. But no, the plan is Melbourne next.
I'm pretty sure.
Next time I come back.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone would love to have you in Melbourne anytime. And you know a lot of people like from this trip from Melbourne as well. So yeah.
I've gotten to meet some people here for sure.
And thank you, Shane, for organizing. Shane's outside at the moment. And thank you for finding time in a busy schedule to talk to us.
My absolute pleasure.
You might have this question all the time, but for everyone who's watching and listening, I want to know how you got into leather and bootblacking, how that life started.
Sure. So I grew up around bikers. Like my parents have been motorcycle riders since before my older brother was born. And I grew up around elements of biker culture. So I've always had an affinity for the aesthetic of it, for the leather jackets, for all of that, right? And then when I was in some of my formative years, I remember coming across some like 90s cartoons that were, some 90s shows were very homoerotic without necessarily intentionally being, but like you look at G.I. Joe and that kind of stuff, it's like that aesthetic spoke to me. I had no idea why, but it's like, oh, I really like that. Yeah, okay. And then years later, I started dipping into BDSM a little bit in ways that were very uneducated, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew that it appealed. And somewhere in there, I also found artwork by like Tom of Finland, Etienne, that kind of stuff, where it dived into that kind of visual. From there, I ended up developing. I built a profile on Recon, and I met my first mentor, who like I was really, really into him right away, and it was like puppy dog eyes at him. I'm like, yes, I would love you to do whatever you want. And he kind of sat me down and went, we're gonna have a conversation around consent and knowing what the hell you're doing. So he gave me some books to read and kind of gave me some homework. But that was the start of it, of like, hey, I really want to know more about this. And from there, the bootblacking was from when I won my first leather title in November of 2010. And I remember the head judge that year was that year's International Community Bootblack. And so after the contest, they asked, hey, do you mind if I bootblack at the bar? Now that the contest is done, it's how I kind of get back some of my travel fund. And they said yes. Well, this particular bootblack was not just a woman, a very feminine woman, very like high femme, corseted, hair down to her ass, all this stuff. And watching her bootblack for like these old school, like gay leathermen at an Eagle bar, and them going, I want to play with you right now, and it's messing with me. I immediately kind of went, that is magic, and I want to learn it. And from there, I remember my contest producer went, oh, okay, you want to learn, you're interested in bootblacking? Cool. You're going to start bootblacking in the bar in 3 weeks, so go ahead and learn. Oh, so that was a little intimidating. And I just went into research mode and figure out what I could, and reaching out to the people that I knew that had some experience bootblacking. And I just really quickly fell in love with it, and I haven't stopped since.
You said you met the first mentor from Recon.
Yes.
And then you were reaching out to people. What exactly did you do to reach out to this bigger community at that time?
So that first person, it was literally just, I saw their profile, they were hot, I just reached out. And it was like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but I would like to get naked and sweaty with you, right? That's it was, I had no tact. Arguably, I still have no tact. And from there, when he decided that I was someone that he wanted to kind of guide a little bit and that kind of thing, We did not have a leather bar per se where I lived, but we had a bar that the leather guys would go to.
Mm.
And so I remember he took me and brought me to this bar a couple of times, and I just kind of met people there. And from there, I just kind of tapped into community. I genuinely don't think many people find community autonomously on their own. I think it really takes the effort a lot of the time of someone reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm going to help you make these connections." And I was very lucky to have that very early on in me trying to find community that I resonated with. Because I remember I've never been one to go to the dance bars, and like a lot of the
Mm.
circuit party stuff never appealed.
Mm.
So I had no idea what I was doing. And so having that helping hand of like, hey, I'm going to help you meet like-minded people that would rather, hang out and smoke a cigar as opposed to going to a rave and dancing until 3 in the morning, right? That helped a lot.
And now you have an international title.
Mhm.
Um, how do you find when you travel and meeting new people? Um, do you find a lot of newcomers to the scene or the community coming and reaching out to you, or like, is there anything that you think that you are doing extra or special after winning the IML?
I don't know if I'm doing anything extra or special. I don't. I feel like I'm too in the middle of it to
Mm.
really be able to give a fair assessment, if that makes
Mm.
sense. But I do know I've had a number of people reach out on social media and on various platforms where it's like, "Hey, I'm new to bootblacking," or "Hey, this seems interesting. What would you recommend I do? Who would you recommend I talk to? Are there any books you think I should read?" Right. So it's not so much at events. I have had some people reach out at events, but most of like the newcomer people that reach out to me, it's the ones that haven't really. Some may not have even gone to their first event yet,
Mm.
and they want to know how,
Yeah.
right? Because if a lot of the time when people haven't dived into that part of the community, there's a lot of assumptions that build up and a lot of fears and a lot of
Mm.
intimidation. And the reality is usually a lot friendlier than we think it is if we don't actually have a reference point.
Mm.
Like I remember one of the first times I went to a leather bar, I got to the front door and I went back home.
I was the same.
Yeah.
I was the same.
And it's just, had I just walked into the bar, I would have found a very friendly community right then and there.
Mm.
I didn't know. I just remember like the awkward like new kid at school thing that lives in my head took over because I didn't know any better,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, a lot of the new people that reach out to me, it's just they are really new and just they don't know how to navigate
Mm.
that. So hopefully I'm helping people when I can.
I think you do. I've seen you for the last few days talking to hundreds of people in Sydney,
Mhm.
and without you even realizing, I think that's going to make a bigger impact, because the people that you're going to people you that you talk when you are here,
Mhm.
they're never going to forget you, and the impression that you have made with them, they're not going to forget you. So there could be a new person in the community you wouldn't
Mhm.
know because you don't live here. But yeah, I think you do that. And also, with all your online content and with your YouTube channel,
Mhm.
and that's going to keep a lot of people more closer to you and uh, feel more welcome to the community as well. So I think you do more than you think you do.
I, I always hope for the best. You never know what kind of impact you're going to have,
Yeah.
for good or for bad, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just try to leave a positive footprint where I can. So, if something comes of that, if that means that someone finds community in a way that they wouldn't have otherwise,
Yeah.
then great. I'm happy about that.
How's the IML life going?
Very busy. I have really made an effort to reconnect with how I engage with self care, just because it is really easy to get wrapped up in the details and the organization and next event, next event, next event,
Mm.
and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, a lot of it has been incredibly busy, very, very rewarding. Um, and I've gotten to travel to places that I didn't think I ever would. Australia being one of them, actually. I mean, Australia's been on my bucket list ever since I was a kid. But I always figured, oh well, that's a someday thing. It's not a now thing. So yeah, I mean, I've gone to Ireland at this point. I've gotten to talk at a I got to talk at an academic, like, university kink convention in front of a room of sexual psychology and sexual therapy majors. Never thought that would happen, so that was kind of cool. No, it's been a very surreal experience.
Yeah. Self-care.
Mhm.
And we spoke about it before
Yeah.
this recording as well. What exactly do you do for self-care for you, especially with all the travels and everything? What exactly do you do?
I engage with the things that make me happy for the sake of them making me happy. So I'm a big nerd. I love my video games. I love my card games. So I give myself that freedom and that space to just be like, no, I'm going to play a video game for like 2-3 hours. I'm not going to worry about other stuff. I'm going to kill demons or whatever it is. That's a big one. Just connect with the things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
That's how you recharge your batteries, right?
Yeah. And do you have moments that you spend time with friends or people that you don't talk about leather or community
Oh God,
or
yes.
work?
Yeah. So that's really important. It is really easy when you are involved in community, especially when you're involved in community at the level of having a title. It is really easy for that to really become all encompassing and to fall into this trap of like, oh, that needs to be my life for the next 12 to 18 months. No one can keep that up.
Yeah.
So it is really important to not just expand outside of that, but to have people in your life that aren't steeped in that community to that extent. Having those friends that you can, like, I'm going to go to lunch and we can just talk about anything else. I, there are people, there are times where it's like, I don't want to talk about bootblacking. I don't want to talk about the latest community drama. I just want to, hang out and tell really bad dad jokes and, go have a burger.
Yeah.
So having those people in your life that nurture that kind of experience is a very important thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I realized during my time there, as with the local title in Melbourne, it was very important for me to have breaks and talk shit with talk shit with friends rather than just
Mhm.
talking about community, because I really needed some personal time and feel like I don't have to be switched on all the time. That really helped, and I'm so lucky to have some friends in Melbourne that I can do that. And there were moments we would have dinner and no leather talks, no event talks.
Yep.
We would just talk about guys and talk shit about it. Yeah. I want to talk about IML a little bit, especially your competition and your speech, top 20 speech. For anyone who hasn't seen Rene's speech, that's on your social media, I think. I've seen it.
I believe it is. I have a video of it. I should probably re-upload
Yeah,
it
okay,
at
all
this
right. If
point.
it's not there, it will be there in future. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I watched it recently as well. So it's somewhere on social media. Um, that had a very important message, and you had a point of view in that speech. I just want to talk about your intentions behind it, or what were you thinking when you were preparing for that speech?
So I have always felt that a lot of community dynamics end up being very divisive. And I think that is a side effect of, as the community gets bigger, it's natural for us to kind of develop our own little subsections that we stay within. And some people take that a little to the extreme, where it ends up being very divisive and ends up being very negative and toxic. We've kind of gotten to a point where um, some people feel that it's like, oh, well, I'm within like the G category of LGBTQIA plus, so I don't need to associate with the people outside of that. and or right down to the point of being detrimental to other parts of the community, right? I mean, we've met the gay men that are very transphobic. We've met the lesbians that are really offended by bisexual women, and like all that. There's a lot of division, and there is a lot of need worldwide right now that we need to really work together, because we are a lot stronger as a cohesive unit than we ever will be separated. And we're dealing with transphobia around the world right now. We're dealing with racism skyrocketing in a lot of places in the world. We are dealing with a lot of stuff that I really feel tears away more than anything else. And we need to not buy into that. If any of us that are part of the LGBTQIA plus community, yes, there is a certain amount of privilege based on who you are within that community, but all of us are also marginalized in very real ways. And so I think that there really is a benefit to focusing on building each other up more than anything else.
Rene, I want to touch on the privilege that you were talking about as well. And you mentioned in the meet and greet we had with you a few days ago about the importance of accepting and understanding that privilege and doing something better by using that. I'm curious to know what made you think of this situation. How did you come to think of all these?
Yeah. I think that a lot of that ends up being a side effect of practicing empathy, because a lot of actually engaging actively in being more empathetic and more mindful is realizing that it doesn't revolve around you, and it helps you see things in a broader spectrum. So I've always felt like I have a relatively diverse social circle. Um, Limited by my own physical location or social situation or whatnot. Like I remember I went to high school where it was in Sherwood Park, Alberta, which is very, very white. So a lot of my high school friends were white. I had like I think one black friend when I was in high school, just because that was the community, right? But if I've always seen value in just caring about other people.
Yeah.
And connecting with empathy kind of gives you that broader view of like, okay, it's not about me. So that means that other people's perspectives are also valid, which then leads to actually listening when someone who doesn't share my life experience talks about their life experience.
Yeah.
And if you allow yourself to keep actually just caring to that extent, it's like, oh, maybe there is something to this when you have a ton of black people across the United States saying, hey, the system is rigged against us. Maybe there's something to that, and I think that the flip side of that is like, okay, if it is rigged against these people, it is not that much of a stretch to think it is rigged for this other group of people. And if I happen to be in that group of people, I have a real platform and a power that I can use to help elevate other people.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're all in this together. None of us are making this out of this alive. So yeah, it's and it's like I was talking about at the meet and greet. It doesn't have to be complicated either. We don't need everyone to lead the protest. Not everyone has to be at the front of the parade. But I think that it is the responsible thing to elevate the voices of those more marginalized around you. I think it is the responsibility of those of us with that privilege to put a spotlight on those who have less. And like one of the big reasons is if someone is racist, let's say, even if they don't really fully realize just how racist they might be, that they have all this like programmed prejudice in them, right? That means that they're more likely to listen to someone that shares their skin tone than someone who doesn't. And so there is more of a chance of me being able to do some good using that privilege as a tool.
I think it's very important for all of us to be surrounded by people who have different life experiences than us.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
going to be boring otherwise, right?
Oh,
If you're
God,
just with
yes.
people like you.
I don't want to eat just vanilla ice cream my entire life. That's not fun.
I've been branded as a tough judge recently, or a tough. That I ask tough questions
Uh-huh.
because this is a general question I just asked from a lot of people in general as well. That tell me a moment that you've learned something from someone who has a different life experience than you. It
Mm.
seems like a very simple question, but it's surprising how it can be tough as well if you don't really
Yes.
think that way.
It requires being engaged with where you are socially.
Mm,
And I think one of like you've got social media which encourages disengagement.
mm,
A lot of social interactions, especially with gay men, is very shallow,
mm,
I find. And it's a lot of like the pursuit for the next hookup. So it takes that effort to practice that social consciousness.
mm.
And I think a lot of the way that social interaction is built at this point discourages that. So I encourage people to at least spare some thought to how they engage with people beyond just the surface.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where empathy comes as well. And you
Hmm.
mentioned that the meet and greet again. That's something, that's a quality that you would look from the next title holder, for
Yes,
example. Um, how important that is again, empathy for you?
paramount. You cannot build community with it without it.
Mm,
Um, you cannot build community if you do not care about the others in that community. If you don't decenter yourself at least a little, because it's not about any one of us, it's about all of us. And as far as I'm concerned, that is a skill that takes practice.
mm.
It doesn't happen overnight for anyone. Um, but because it's a skill, it can be learned.
Talking of the next title holder, the next international Mr. Leather competition is coming very soon
Yes.
in Chicago. What general advice you would have to anyone who's going to compete? I know you can't be very specific, but you
Yeah.
are posting already general
Hmm.
advice. Anything, who's any advice for anyone who's keen?
Yeah. Um, so there's a couple different categories of advice, right? At the surface level, if you are already slated to compete, go in with go in attached to as few preconceptions as possible. Be open to whatever the weekend offers, because I find that, and we were talking about this earlier, I find that the people that leave that weekend with the most negative experience are the people that go in really attached to this idea of like, this is what the outcome is going to be, this is what the experience is going to be. Every year IML has different people involved, different contestants. A lot of the handlers stay the same, but a lot of the elements differ every year, so every year is going to be different. um, None of the contestants this year are going to have what my class last year had,
Mm.
but my class last year didn't have what the year before us had,
Mm.
right? So go in just open to whatever the weekend will provide. If you're curious about running as a prospect moving forward and you're not sure about it yet, do some research.
Mm.
At this point, we have had, I think, over 2,000 contestants go through the IML experience, which means we have had over 2,000 people that have feedback and have knowledge and have experience that they can share. And I would hazard a guess that almost every title holder will happily talk about themselves. So um, it's the resources are out there to just learn about what the experience is like as much as possible.
Yeah.
Like you alluded to, I'm also in the process of releasing these videos, just giving general advice, breaking down the process. Um, and mine is not the only resource out there. It's the most recent, obviously. But I mean, there's like the Leather Contestants Guide, which is a book that's fairly easily accessible, I think. You know, we could go into the whole like learn about your history, learn about your community, learn about the women's community. A lot of leather guys do not know much about the women's community. Learn about that. You know, so I mean, we could talk about like a lot of more specifics and that kind of stuff, but just generally reach out to people who've done it. Learn what their experiences were like.
I will add a link to your YouTube channel
Sure.
in the description as well. So this will help,
Yeah,
not just this class, but anyone in future as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, one of the things I keep hearing from a lot of contestants from previous competitions is be yourself and be authentic and this and that. But also you have to stand out in the middle of like 60, 70 other contestants.
Mm.
How do you think someone can do that? Stand out in the middle of like 60 or 70 other contestants who are eager to
Right.
do the best.
So I'm a very big proponent of the authenticity for sure, and the big reason for me for that is most people will only experience running for a contest once, right? IML at this point has actually released the official ruling like you can only run for IML once, period, right? And as far as I'm concerned, win or lose, if you went through the contest experience presenting a false persona, presenting something inauthentic, I would be kicking myself regardless of how the contest went, because a big part of doing these events is celebrating who you are authentically, right? If you're a pup, if you're into ABDL, if you are into total power exchange, if you are whatever, you have this opportunity to present who you are authentically on a very large platform. And I think you are doing yourself a disservice if you don't. And beyond that, if you present what you think you should, then the community that you are connected to because of who you are doesn't get to hear that voice. And so to that extent, you're also doing your community a disservice. If I'm a very proud bootblack. I have been bootblacking for 15, 16 years. And if I had ignored that component of myself, which is such a big part of who I am with regards to the community, a lot of bootblacks who saw my run at IML and were inspired by it wouldn't have gotten that. And so I'm then doing a disservice to my own community. And what's the point then? You're only going to have one person win, right? Or I will rephrase, you're only going to have one person leave the weekend with the title. As far as I'm concerned, in the scheme of like winning, anyone who fully embraces themselves during that weekend as fully as they can, they have won that experience. Yeah. Now, as far as standing out, I would recommend getting to know some drag queens and just like people involved in theater, people involved in performance, because as the contest itself, especially like the stage portion, it's a show. It is entertainment for the people that came to actually watch this, right? So when you're talking like the stuff like physique and stage presence, learn how to work a stage. Reach out to one thing that I hear a lot of people don't think about. It's like reach out to local burlesque performers. Figure out, okay, what is the best way to like remove your kilt? That kind of thing. There's also a lot of nerves around like stuff like the interview, right? If you're going into the interview and you're focused so much on I need to stand out, you're not thinking about the questions being asked. So it's good to think about I need to stand out and I need to make sure that like I'm visible and I stand out among these like 70 people, but pick and choose when that happens, because that's not always the focus for the entire weekend either.
Talking of drag, tell us about your drag experience. I didn't know this. This is news to me. So,
Yes.
yes.
So in my 20s, I connected with a community called the Imperial Court System. It's not mostly, it is entirely based in North America. And I believe there are 70, I want to say like 73 chapters across North America. And it is basically a faux royalty system based around drag and based around raising money for charity and raising social awareness. And like the organization does a lot of good. And I really got attracted to the visual aspect of it, where you had like emperors and empresses and all these other titles involved. It's very elevated. It's a lot of fun. And so I got involved with that community in Edmonton, Alberta, which is where I was living when I came into my 20s. And so I started connecting with some of these people, and I remember a friend of mine was saying, "Oh, well, you should go and you should do a show." Like, oh, really? Okay, I've never put on heels, but okay. And at the time, they were like, "Yes, you should do drag." I'm like, "Okay, sure." And I tried, and it was a little sad, but that's okay. But a lot of my experience through this, I kind of developed two personas. I had one which was like the more feminine side. Her name is She's a Tucker. And then I had the male persona. His name is Jock Strap. And I've always enjoyed theater and performance and stuff. Like when I was a kid, I was in like a theater club when I was like in third grade and that kind of stuff. So a lot of that I already had kind of an affinity for it. And for me, it was just like a really fun way to connect with amateur theater, essentially. On top of, it's like, oh, I don't need to be able to sing. I just need to be able to learn how to lip sync to, Madonna or whoever it was that I wanted to do. My first number was the Hanky Code by Peaches. It's a very fun song. But yeah, I spent about 10 years involved with the Imperial Court in Edmonton. I held 4 titles: King of Hearts, Mr. Gay Edmonton, Imperial Crown Prince, and Emperor for Edmonton and Northern Alberta. And we did a lot of really good fundraising, a lot of really good work. I think I went to more drag shows than I could even count, participated in more drag shows than I could even count. And it's the people that get bent out of shape over like perceived masculinity and if drag and leather can coexist in the same space and all that. I think they're missing the point. Like this is it's like going to Baskin Robbins or going to an ice cream place and complaining that they have more than the flavor that you like. It's like, just because you do not like mint chocolate chip doesn't mean that someone else doesn't like mint chocolate chip. It's all ice cream. It's fine. None of this is as deep and serious as some people seem to want to make it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy community. We're here to connect. And if someone connects in a way that you don't, that's okay. Right?
Would you go back to drag? Maybe after IML?
Oh, totally. I've actually done 2. When I was living in Palm Springs, I did a couple of drag events there. And yeah, I absolutely would. I had too much fun with it to not go back into performance in some way, because it was a lot of fun.
Rene, what sort of advice do you have for someone seeking their community now?
So community in general will usually mean different things to different people. And if you have not tapped into any sort of community to find like-minded people, it's really easy to think that you are the only one who has some sort of interest or some sort of thing that you enjoy or whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, there are other people like you. They're however niche your interest might be, or however unique you think the community that you're looking for is, there are other people that are into it just like you are. And in the age of social media, as much as social media encourages disengagement and disenfranchisement, it can also be an incredibly valuable tool to find other people that share the same interests and the same passions. And at this point, we are so connected worldwide that that community doesn't have to be restricted to the local anymore. Um, we've all heard those stories about like someone in a small town thinking that like they're the only gay boy in town, right? And with the connection to the internet, it's possible to at least find other people like them so that they feel less alone. So the big thing that I would recommend is just, recognize you are not the only one with whatever your interests are. You are not the only one that's into whatever kink or fetish. There is a community out there, and utilizing those connective tools in a way that goes beyond, arguing over petty bullshit, it is a good way to connect with those people.
Yeah. Uh, I remember living in Sri Lanka in my early 20s or late teens.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even have social media at that time. Like that, I'm that old. Yeah, I kept thinking whatever I was feeling, I was the only one who was
Mm-hmm.
feeling like that, and I did not know whom to talk to. Um, and I wish if I knew at that time that I wasn't the only one, but now I know, and I keep
Yeah,
talking about that. So that's great advice, and that makes a massive difference to
absolutely.
realize that you're not the only one who
Right.
feels like that, for good or bad, for anything, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's
Like,
there's definitely some bad actors online. Just practice mindful
yeah,
usage of social media.
yeah,
But one thing that one song that comes to mind. So I'm big into musical theater, right? I will often hyperfixate on like a specific musical, and I will listen to that cast recording and nothing else for like 2 weeks.
mm,
But if you listen to the soundtrack for Dear Evan Hansen, there's one song in particular called "You Will Be Found," and the song really does revolve around um, you will find those people, you will find that community and those connections if you take the steps to engage. Um, and it sounds scary, but just like when I first went to that gay bar and I literally got to the door, turned around because I was scared, I made it out to be scarier and less welcoming than it actually was.
mm.
And I think a lot of us fall into that trap, um, because I think all of us are looking for some sort of connection. And it just takes that first step of saying hi.
When you think of the community that you have right now, it's a massive community, I believe.
Mhm.
What three things comes to your mind?
Um, the first, is tapestry or mosaic, right? Um, when I think about the greater, let's take the greater leather community just specifically. There are so many subsections. You have the women's community, you have the men's community, you have the dyke community, you have the bootblacks, you have the pups, you have the rubber fetishists, which I recognize that not everyone feels this way, but as far as I'm concerned, the leather and the rubber community are a lot closer to than some people think. It's an incredibly beautiful community if you actually connect with the broader spectrum. Um, so that would be the first thing that comes to mind. The second that really comes to mind is there is work to be done. I am not going to sit here and pretend that the leather community or the LGBTQ community is like this perfect, cohesive, amazing, only positive and nourishing community, right? We have our issues, and I encourage people to really try to leave the community a better place than they found it. I am sure that you can think of at least a few people that they get involved in community from a very self-centered place, And like we've all met people like that, right? And I would encourage those people to look outside of themselves, even a little bit, right? So yeah, the second thing that comes to mind is like there's definitely work to be done. And the third thing that really comes to mind is legacy. Um, I remember when I first started getting involved um, in my early 20s, there was still a lot of conversation around the bad years around HIV, around like an entire generation or two of LGBTQ people, especially gay men, that were wiped out. And we lost a lot of history and a lot of legacy. Um, but and at this point, I am now of that generation where I get to share my stories and I get to share my experiences. The community has a long history, and the information is more accessible now than it ever has been. The leather community, the gay community, the LGBTQ plus community has a huge, amazing legacy and amazing history. And the more you tap into community, the more you end up being engaged with that legacy and with that story. Um, and I think it's easy to forget that. It's very easy to live in the now and live so centered in what's happening now and forget that we have a history and we are an amazing, amazing community that has been through all sorts of crap before, and we will get through crap again, but we will keep making it through. Um, so yeah, so the three things I just tapestry, work, and legacy. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for finding time to talk to us, because, like you said, social media and online and this content will be there
Mhm.
for a long time. So these conversations will help anyone, not just now, but in years to come as well. So thank you for finding time for us.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And I'll see you
This
in
is
Chicago.
absolutely.